Hello, didn't see you there. Thanks for tuning in, and this video is coming to you from South Riding Golf Club in Chantilly, Virginia. And as you can see on the screen, it's a really tough course. It plays to about par, it's a par 72, and a 136 slope, you read that right. And a little fun note about this course, I think it was a year and a half ago, I played around with Misag Shahidian and Casey Holmes. So if you two are listening in, it was the first time I've ever five-putted in my career. Wasn't the best look. It was a long car ride home. The greenskeeper that day must have just been mad at the world, and it was on hole 15, a par 5, which I'll call out later in the video. But anyway, back to the actual round. So hole 1, it starts off as a par 5, and I love courses that do that. It's actually not even a long par 5 either, but as you can see from the last few shots, I didn't play it perfect, and I had about a pitching wedge in about 120, and I pull hook it into the rough. Luckily I can escape with the par, so not too bad, but yikes. We go straight to OB City, and the driver is something that I'm currently working on. So I'm back in the lab and I'm with my instructor trying to work on it. In particular, I'm trying to find this slot and shallow myself a lot better and stop casting with my right hand. But I'm thinking about maybe posting a video, I probably will, with what's going on, some screenshots and videos of my lessons and kind of the journey. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully it's something that I can post soon, especially now that it's really cold outside. And for those that are wondering, especially all the Northern Virginia people, this was not filmed within the last week. There's been snow left and right. It's been freezing. This was taken, I think, about a month and a half ago, and I finally got around to editing it. But another thing that I really like about this course, I haven't called it out yet, it starts off as a par 5, short par 4, par 5, and hate to see that. So for all the long hitters out there, and I've played with my friend Casey Holmes, and he can bomb the ball, and you can get off to a really hot start with this course. Imagine getting on the green in 2 on both par 5s, and that short par 4, if you can hit even just like a 250 drive, you're a wedge in. So you could potentially be 3, maybe even 4 under to start, and that's why I love this course. It helps you get into a rhythm, but then after that, it just kicks you in the ass. That's where the 136 slope will come into play. And I don't think I've done a good enough job explaining some of the little tricky things, and you might have noticed in the video so far, such as on hole 3, there is a creek you have to carry if you don't have a good drive, so you might have to lay up. So let me go ahead and try and lock back in to explain the course as we go through and what I'm thinking throughout the round. So we are not off to the best start as we're 3 over through 5, and one of those strokes it was a short little 3-footer from that par 5, if you remember. So not playing too bad, but could be playing better. In this hole, you get the first real look at a crazy green. So you can see here, I know it breaks, but just take a look at this. I actually thought I hit a really good putt, and that thing just sailed on me in snaps. And then, of course, I end up 3-putting. But this green in particular, if the pin placement is where it usually is, it's like a funnel green and towards the bottom. So if you're playing that, it's like impossible to make it. It's just an auto 3-putt. So this is one of the hardest par 3s. I'm lucky where I actually hit a really solid 5-iron to about 190. You need about 175-ish worth of carry to clear that bunker in front. But I am so happy with the par on this hole. I actually played it for a bogey, so really excited that I walked away with a good score. And then for this hole, this is a good example of you don't need a driver at all. I think it's like 300 yards. The smart play would be take a 5-iron, take a hybrid, take something around 200, leave yourself a wedge in. I was chasing strokes, so of course I take driver and, rip it. I pushed it right, and then we chunk one into the sand. We are not playing well. Your boy has seen better days. We're not off to a good start. And this hole is actually another example of crazy greens. Luckily, the pin placement is on the bottom side, so it was like an uphill putt from where I was. If you end up on the top end of that, you're basically de-greening a lot of the times. So it's again, the course's defense in a really tough hole. So to round out the front 9, this is just a simple par 4, but I think it's one of the longest par 4s. Luckily, we had the wind behind us. I think when I gunned this, it went about 280, and it left me with a sand wedge in for about 100 yards. I stick it really close to about 8 feet, and of course we do that. So not a terrible front nine in terms of ball striking and where we were, but the score doesn't add up, so we can do better. Not the best drive of the day, but for those who can, understand the pain, there was a foursome that told me and the random to play ahead as a twosome, and so there were 4 eyes grilling us on the tee box. And I think you know the drill. You just gotta hit something and put it in play. And that wedge shot, oh man, I thought that thing almost went in. But you can see where it almost went in, and then look where my ball ends up. I thought I was maybe 3 inches from the hole. I end up like 3 feet because the greens are just ridiculous. And of course I missed the putt. That's on me. And I think that missed putt carries over to this tee shot. It's a shorter par 3, played about 150, I think it was, 145, 150. I pull a 9-iron into the sand, and the sand out wasn't great, but we're out. And I'm actually okay with the bogey, so I'm telling myself, forget trying to play for breaking 80, breaking par. I think at this point in the round, I just tell myself, whatever, let's just golf. And then this is another example of you don't need driver here because there's a huge creek that you actually have to lay up. If you look closely on that one, I actually take like a choke down, really kind of short swing driver, just kind of like a poking out fairway finder. Luckily, I do find the fairway, but doesn't matter if you're going to pull hook your pitching wedge into the rough. So now we're in recovery mode. Hit a pretty good chip shot. Leaves me with like a 10-ish footer, and obviously I'd love for that to be closer to safe par, but we don't make it, and we're okay with a bogey after, 2 not so great shots. The next hole is a par 4, and on the camera you can't see, but there's kind of like a shit pile. You can see it right here. There's a shit pile that you either have to go left or right. I chose right. If you go right, you have to carry this pile, but if you go left, it's a much skinnier fairway and a harder target to hit. I hit the 8-iron of my life about 155 out, and I put that to within 7 feet. And again, story of my life, another missed putt. We got to work on the putter. And this might be my favorite hole of the entire course. It's like a 130 par 3. It's almost like an island green. There's so much water. As you can see, it's a beautiful, beautiful tee shot. I hit a pretty good shot to pin high, but super left. Shocker. I do a pull hook. But I'm very happy for where I ended up after my tee shot with a 2-putt for par. Pretty good lag putt there. I kind of guessed, and that's another green that you don't want to be long on. If you're putting down that, it's scary. And then it takes you to a par 5, as you can see here, and I don't have the best drive and I don't have the best second shot, but anytime you're within a wedge, I believe this is about 110 out, I take a gap wedge, and shocker again, my miss is now a pull hook. It doesn't look as bad as the other ones from that shot tracer and screen, but you can see there, it ended up rolling off into the rough, and I ended up Texas wedging it because I think I had enough runway to do so, and I'm pretty happy with that putt and I'm actually pretty happy with the par overall. And this swing right here was probably the most fun and the swing of the day. I had tailwind behind me. There's a speed slot slope you can catch. When I gunned it, it went about 295, and obviously I don't hit it 295, so I caught all of the things you could possibly catch, and it leaves me with a really short sand wedge in. And I'm so fortunate that I stick it to about 45 feet. Nice shot, Mark, you dingus. Anyway, this next hole coming up is, you can see on the left-hand side there's trees, so imagine a complete 90-degree angle to the left. I've always wanted to try, fun fact, I took a second ball and tried to drive it over the trees onto the green. Obviously I wasn't close, but I know people who can do it, so you can see here. But I end up using a hybrid off the tee and hit a perfect 200 shot down the line. I pull hook my wedge. Jesus, I need to figure that out. Why am I pull hooking it? I missed my shot there to get out where it ended up dropping. And then I guess the good news is I 2-putt there for a double bogey. I guess that's great. And then hole 18, we just need to salvage what's left of the round. So it's just a pretty straightforward, simple par 4. It's a pretty skinny one. There's OB left. The driving range was to the right, if you saw there. So there isn't a lot of room to miss, but luckily there's no crazy bunkers or anything else, nothing to carry. It's just a pretty straightforward par 4. And this green, holy. And if you zoom in, you can just kind of see how crazy the green is. But let's go. We end on a 3-putt. That's how you want to end a round. But anyway, you can see on the screen how we ended up. But thanks for tuning in. Until next time.